When Ilya Naishuller, whose name I probably just butchered, directed Hardcore Henry in 2015, I got the impression that he would be a one-hit wonder. The first-person shooter as a movie concept worked well enough, and it was thoroughly entertaining despite some issues with the story and pacing. 6 years later, we're getting Naishuller's second effort, Nobody. The Russian director proves that he will not fall victim to the sophomore slump with a movie that is unapologetically violent, brutal, and hilarious. Let's discuss. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. For better or worse, Bob Odenkirk will always be associated with Breaking Bad. While the actor made a name for himself in comedy, his visibility skyrocketed with the character of Saul Goodman, the shady Albuquerque lawyer who finds himself tangled up in the business of meth distribution. His success on that show skyrocketed so high so fast that he quickly found himself performing in a spin-off dedicated to the character of Saul. And if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, what are you doing? Here, Odenkirk jumps in with both feet into the character of Hutch Mansell, a regular guy working a regular guy job in a metal factory. He clearly hates the tedium of his everyday life. He swipes his Metro card, rides the bus, fills out paperwork, does pull-ups at the bus station, and fantasizes about eventually having sex with his wife again. He does this same routine every day ad nauseum over and over again. The movie hammers this point home early and often, with Hutch's every guy persona and backstory taking up a surprising amount of screen time. His wife seems just as bored as he is, his daughter adores him, and his son thinks he's an absolute loser. The last part is truly hammered home when a young couple breaks into the Mansell home and tries to rob the place. Instead of beating them to death with a golf club, Hutch lets them walk away with minimal bloodshed, further proving to Hutch's son that his dad is a loser. This turns out to be the last straw for our protagonist, who proceeds to then head out into the night in search of some mayhem. From here, Hutch gets himself in trouble with the Russian mob, and things escalate right on cue. In case it's not readily apparent from this review and the film's marketing materials, Hutch feels like a nobody, but is indeed anything but. His questionable past becomes front and center, and the film excels when playing up the humor of the regular guy facade that Hutch has been wearing for so many years. For comparison's sake, Nobody is one part Falling Down, one part John Wick, and one part Taken, with a heavy dose of humor thrown into the mix. Odenkirk's past work as a comedian is on full display, with a handful of moments that had me laughing until I cried. While Nobody isn't relegated necessarily to one specific genre, the filmmakers clearly knew what kind of movie they wanted to make. They didn't want to make an action film or a comedy, they wanted to combine both and give each genre equal weight and worth. This decision is indeed the right one, and Nobody uses every single second of its 90 minutes to keep the audience's eyes glued to the screen. While my knowledge of Odenkirk's work is relegated to pretty much Breaking Bad and The Incredibles 2, I haven't actually seen Better Call Saul, he gives a masterful performance here. He nails the blue-collar everyman role while kicking all of the asses as soon as the film requires he do so. It's clear that the actor put everything into his preparation for the role, and playing against type is one of those bold decisions that can really make a performance stand out. The always good Connie Nielsen plays Hutch's wife Rebecca, and sadly doesn't have all that much to do. While she serves as a motivational tool for the protagonist, she's not nearly as fleshed out as she could have been. She doesn't do anything to detract from the experience, but in a film that's so dialed in with the narrative and characters, the lack of punch provided by Rebecca's story is noticeable. Nobody defied my expectations at every turn, and perhaps there's no greater example of this than Christopher Lloyd's performance as Hutch's father David. So here's the thing about Christopher Lloyd. The dude's a legend. His first movie role was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is like an incredible movie. He was Doc Brown in Back to the Future. He won a pair of Emmy Awards for Taxi. He voiced Rasputin in Anastasia, and his Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the stuff nightmares are made of. Christopher Lloyd is one of my favorite actors, and while he hasn't been in any big budget movies for a while, seeing him back on the screen in any capacity brings a smile to my face. But in this movie, he isn't just a substantial part of the story, he has some of the very best moments in the entire damn thing. I've reviewed my fair share of garbage cinema over the course of the last year, including unapologetic action films, and I've got to say it, movies like this don't come around all that often. I loved everything about Nobody. I love the performances from Odenkirk and Lloyd. I love the wild violence that never takes it too far. I love the story. I love the awesome soundtrack that hits on all the classics. And I love that the Russian director has no qualms about making fun of the Russian gangster stereotype at every opportunity. For me, 2021 has been the year of pleasant surprises when it comes to movies. We had a 4-hour Justice League movie that was way better than it had any right to be. And now we have a big, smart, hilarious, cheeky, self-aware action movie. Naishuller deserves all the credit in the world for getting this right. It's one thing to nail your casting, and it's another thing to nail your casting, give them amazing material to work with, and create a world for the characters to play in. Hardcore Henry was a fine debut for the director, but with Nobody, he proves that not only is it possible to avoid the sophomore slump, but it's possible to hit the second pitch out of the park. Thank you so much for watching. If you found the review helpful, please consider subscribing. You can also like and share the video since that tells YouTube my channel is worth promoting. Hit me up down in the comments. Let me know what you think of Nobody, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.